Some of the key steps in square metre rate and functional area estimating. Today's agenda will start with what is square metre rate and functional area estimating. We will then look at the methods used, the purpose of preparing these estimates, how we get started, setup, some basic estimating principles, benchmarking, summary of the key notes, and then the opportunity for some questions. What is it? It's a high-level cost plan based on applying square metre cost rates to functional areas as well as non-functional area items. Generally, it's prepared very early on in the design or feasibility phase of a project with minimal design documentation available. In order to prepare these estimates accurately, a historic database of similar projects is required. It's also worth mentioning that the skill of preparing these estimates comes with experience as well as having a healthy historic database for reference. Though design information is limited at this stage, some aspects of accuracy of this form of estimating is vital, given the information we provide will assist clients in making important decisions about the future of a project. There are two methods in which the estimate can be carried out. First is to strictly apply all-inclusive square metre rates to functional gross floor areas. Second is to apply elemental square metre rates to functional floor-by-floor gross floor areas, as well as applying rates to non-functional areas, and where possible, elementally build up typical floors. In Melbourne, we tend to shy away or avoid method 1. We prefer to apply method 2 to provide more accuracy in our estimates, as well as show a point of difference from our competitors. Method 2 also allows us to provide clients a basis of how we have come to the overall estimated point of difference from our competitors. Method 2 also allows us to provide clients a basis of how we have come to the overall estimated figure, as we can extract key rates from the basic typical floor build-up, such as the facade. Why do we prepare these estimates? In a lot of cases, they are fee-driven, given the client is after a quick answer with minimal cost. This therefore enables them to carry out feasibility studies prior to acquisition of sites, so they can set or compare against sales rates and also give an indication of market conditions. The estimates can also be used to compare various options very early on in the design process. The time may not be available to prepare a measured cost plan. They can also be used internally to set and confirm a project budget. They can be used as the basis of the independent cost check for a financier's initial report, and in the absence of a pre-tender estimate or previous cost plans, provide a reference estimate for an upcoming tender. The next two slides are an indication of what documentation may be issued in order to prepare these estimates. So here we have an area schedule, which is level by level, giving you apartment numbers, car park numbers, GFAs, as well as your NSA. Interesting to note that NSA is based on a grossing factor, which therefore tells you that it has not been proven in an actual floor plan. In addition to the area schedule, you might also receive a basic section as well as a typical floor plan. From this typical floor plan, it's quite easy to see how we would be able to build up a typical floor on an elemental basis, given apartment numbers are well defined, as well as core and lobby areas. We'd also be able to establish a rate on the facade, as well as check the percentage or ratio used for the NLA calculation to ensure it is accurate. Now time to get the estimate started. The first step is to get a detailed briefing from the client. This will help you gain an appreciation of the project design, understand or confirm the quality envisaged for the project, and also give you a time available to complete the task. This will also dictate the level or detail of measurement that can be carried out. Then assess the documentation provided. Following this assessment, you have a strategy in place on how the estimate will be structured. Is it unit rates applied to areas? Are you able to build up a typical floor? And what other allowances are required? It's also a good time to gather some benchmark data, estimate examples, and also have a look at Rider's Digest at some basic square metre rates. Following your briefing from the client, you are now ready to set up the estimate. So you copy across a similar project in Kiwi. Structure or adjust the estimate on a functional area basis. Further to this, if applicable, break up level by level as you would for a square cost elemental cost plan. Include sundry non-functional area costs such as external works, demolition, landscaping. Then measure GFA, net areas, functional unit numbers, etc. for the different functional areas, if the documentation permits. If not, input GFAs, net areas, unit numbers, etc. as applicable from the area schedule provided. Then review clients or the architect's area schedule and reconcile with the RLB measure. You can then check high-level ratios, areas are comparable to similar projects and make sense. Metres squared per car park, net versus gross areas for efficiency, average unit size per apartment, and the percentage of plant area. If required, adjust areas and alert the client of the adjustments. It's also a good time to issue an area schedule which will form the basis of your estimate to the client. This is an example of what your estimate summary may look like. Running down starts up with site preparation. In this particular project, we needed to maintain or retain the existing facade, which was heritage listed. Then goes into car park, broken up level by level. Residential tower, again broken up level by level, and external works, flowing through to our on costs. Key items of the estimate summary are the functional areas as well as non-functional areas broken up in different zones. Typical floors were grouped together. Specific non-functional area items were noted as line items, and functional area quantities were listed in headings. Estimating principles. So the estimate is set up, areas are in, where do we go to from here? We can apply unit rates to FECA, UCA functional areas as applicable. In these rates, we consider inclusions and exclusions of the unit rates applied. Furthermore, price excluded items, as the case may be. Where possible, elementally build up a typical floor to gain a benchmark of the unit rate to be applied to similar areas. Keep in mind rules of thumb in elemental pricing breakup. For example, tower construction, 20 to 25% of the pricing is structure, 20 to 25% is facade, 20 to 25% is services, with the remaining finishes, fitments, etc. While pricing, continually compare functional areas, typical floor and unit rates back to the database initially gathered from similar projects. Give some thought to the architect commissioned on the project, as over time you are able to develop an understanding or envisage various architects' design intent in terms of quality of finishes, construction, facility issues, and the like, which you can consider in your pricing. If no design direction is provided, also consider some of the key building services and apply this to your pricing, as well as stating your assumptions. For example, mechanical air for a residential tower, condenser units on balconies, or a central system. The trade cost has now been completed, so now you need to apply an appropriate design development contingency. We also need to note specific exclusions in the body of the estimate as well as below the line. Some of the items in the body of the estimate might include rock excavation, contamination removal, and works outside the site boundary. Below the line items may be design fees, other fees, escalation, FF&E, and project contingency. Also consider the following in unit rates, and more specifically when applying the percentage for builders' prelims and margin, construction program, staging requirements, location and site access, type of contractors appropriate for the project, procurement route, current market conditions and activities, and the Australian dollar. As simple as this may sound, our friendly architects tend to miss things in the early design documentation. So here is a list of things to look out for. Incorrect scale on sketches, plant area not shown or not enough, balcony areas not included in area schedules, unachievable efficiencies, therefore not enough common circulation area, floor-to-floor heights, incorrect GFAs generally, where cores, stair voids are excluded, not enough GFA, so your benchmark of car park area per car park is not comparable to benchmark projects, and incorrect number of lifts, which can always be benchmarked against similar projects or seek advice from the internal services QS. Here is an example of a typical floor builder, which is always our preference when completing these estimates. From the floor plan shown on the earlier slide, the measurement to this level is quite easily achieved. The majority of items are priced on a GFA or area basis. The facade is based on a girth by height with an applicable rate, while plumbing has been based on a number of points, which would be an allowance per apartment. This gives better definition to your costs, and as mentioned, you can always pull out a key rate such as the facade for a discussion point with clients and also architects, as this is a major component in the cost. Here are the key fundamentals of that typical floor builder. All items with the exception of facade, stairs and plumbing were priced on a GFA rate basis, typically from a similar project. Facade cost was based on an average unit rate, which is a basic measure of girth by the height. If information is available, always a preferred option than a GFA rate, as wall-to-floor ratios can differ greatly and affect GFA rates accordingly. Plumbing points were calculated on an average allowance or number per apartment. Other items such as kitchen joinery appliances can also be priced in this manner as an alternative to GFA rates. For the information provided by the architect, benchmark checks can be made: area per apartment, efficiencies, costs for various elements per apartment. Now come to the final step in the process. Given the estimate is complete and we're about to issue, how do we know it is accurate? Therefore, we benchmark the function area and unit costs against similar projects, such as cost per square metre GFA, cost per car, cost per apartment, cost per square metre NLA, cost per square metre RPA. When benchmarking, maintain consistency across projects. Therefore, exclude demolition costs and or specific project-related items of significant cost. Allocate non-functional area costs major functional area it relates to, or allocate pro rata across all functional areas as applicable. Escalate historical projects to current day rates using RLB TPIs. Here is an example of how you could benchmark a residential tower project. Looking at the top, you'll start with the overall construction cost, then split out the car park, and the apartment components of the estimate. From this table, you'll pick out key issues such as cost per car, cost per apartment, and cost per square metre of the various functional areas. As you can see, this is a powerful tool to demonstrate or show clients how their development compares against similar projects, and also as an internal check to confirm your numbers are right. Here is another example of a benchmarking comparison, this time for a mixed-use single tower. You see, the project has been converted into a cost summary of the functional areas. So car park, retail, residential tower, hotel tower and office tower. Cost items such as external works and substructure were allocated pro rata across the functional areas above. Costs are then compared to the cost data from similar projects and also generic cost data from Rider's Digest. We'd now like to sum up key points from this presentation. Where applicable, measure and then reconcile areas against the area schedule and confirm all areas fall within expected parameters and comparable to similar projects. Have a clear understanding of the scope, quality and standards envisaged for the project. Gather historic data from similar projects using the vast database available within your local office as well as the wider RLB group. Where possible, elementally build up a typical floor and use as a basis for square metre rates applied to other levels. Once complete, benchmark on a like-for-like basis against similar projects drawing upon the RLB database. Create a clear and precise list of inclusions and exclusions issued to the client with the estimate. Finally, have a director or colleague peer review the estimate. I'd like to thank everyone for listening today. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Recording has started.
Okay, thanks everyone for watching. So look, I'll leave it or open it up to you guys if there's any particular questions or anything else you want to sort of discuss. Fire away, go.
Darren has asked, does RLB have a standard practice for collecting benchmarking data?
I think every office does it in their own way. We have a bit of a process here in Melbourne, which we use. Look, it's also under development in terms of, you've probably heard the word knowledge hub, which has sort of been floating around for a while, and that's looking at a central sort of system for the CCS that we can all sort of tap into, upload project profiles, and all that, those kind of things.
Lower left.
But in terms of a standard practice around sort of all the offices, it's probably a no. However, we all do it in some form or another, and we all collect the same sort of data, in project costs, rate per square metre, and all those kind of things. I mean, Rider's Digest is probably summarises everything that all the officers do sort of prepare, I guess.
Do you know your slider?
Sydney, sorry Sydney, we can't actually hear you. I think your audio is on mute.
Dominic, can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah.
A good presentation. The level of accuracy that you expect from these estimates, and what your expectation of this RLB Melbourne, what your client looks like?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Usually, look, I'd say as a percentage, range, and there's a lot of limits to that because of the information you've got, whether along the way the project radically. But the problem is, well, not the problem, the expectation is for clients that the first answer we give them is they're going to run with on the way. So it becomes just of managing the cost planning and the design as we go through to sort of hit that number, I guess.
Can you just repeat the question that Julio asked you, just so that there's a couple of people just what Julio asked?
The question from Julio, for those who didn't hear, was what is the level of accuracy that we expect from these type of estimates?
Sir, pwede ba lang yung question yung sa percentage niya ng facade ng carport na
Sample lang yun.
sa ID?
Yeah.
Sample lang mo niya.
Yeah, and they deliver
Tigta
guideline.
25% lang eh.
And we have to manage that.
25% lang yung binigay niya kanina.
Oo.
Sample lang.
Hindi kasi sa atin, diba?
Yeah.
Mas malaki ang ID, diba?
There's a question here from Darwin.
Hindi siya ano eh.
Does Qubit have the functionality to run queries across multiple projects to compare rates? I don't think there's actually a Qubit button that you press that you can do that, but there's a whole lot of different reports in Qubit that you can print out from one project to another project and so on, and you'll sort of have a like-for-like printout, you could say, of these projects. Sydney?
Yes, Sydney office. We just found out that over a number of years collecting data that for engineering services, the best benchmarking for apartments is actually dollar per apartment. Gives us much more reliable outcomes. So we collect in square meter rates.
Yeah, that's
Good, yeah, do it, that's better.
yeah, we do it both ways because we've always got the number of apartments and we've also, got rates per square metre. What we've found with developers in terms of apartments, they look at NLA or cost per, the overall cost per NLA, and because they don't sell on apartment numbers, they sell on an NLA basis. So they'll apply $10,000, $12,000 per square metre NLA as their revenue, which is where they sort of offset that against their construction costs and all their other development costs. So, it's both ways. We keep both ways. We look at it both ways when we've done a cost plan. Cost per apartment, we know it should be, depending on the sort of where the apartment quality is, $220,000, $250,000 per apartment. And then we look at sort of the rate per square metre.
Can you just repeat the question?
A question from New South Wales for Darwin, who can't hear, was in New South Wales, they tend to look at or collect data as cost per apartment rather than cost per square metre.
Hey Dominic, it's me again.
Do it? Yep.
One of your slides you referred to RPA. It's probably a lot of terminology you'll come across. Can you explain that in a little more detail and why you use that?
Yeah, just for there was a question on RPA and what that terminology refers to, what we use it for. There's RPA is residential property area. Now look, it can be net area, residential property area. Different developers will use the different terms, and that's basically the area that they sell to the market. So it's a different measure to the GFA, which probably most of you know, but that's what they refer to. Like when they set their sales rates, RPA rather than GFA, and we always do our own internal checks to make sure we're measuring what they're being told from the RPA.
Sorry, Adelaide, can you just put your audio on mute?
Alright, so it seems like everyone's happy? No? up, and look, if there's anything comes out of this, or happy to be contacted on email or call Melbourne and go from there. If you want us to copies of those spreadsheets or anything like that, happy to share with whoever. Thanks.